Okay, we're recording part 2 of class 8 on September 14th, picking up where we left off for ceilings. Where we left off was creating our own ceilings, actually drawing the shape of that ceiling we want. I was saying that the good part about this, nice part about drawing your own ceiling is, especially in commercial buildings, when they have a lot of ceilings that are at different levels, we can create that effect, which is really nice. So if I wanted to create like even that effect in this room right here, if I wanted to raise this ceiling up, I'll highlight it, make it active, and I'm going to set that to 9 foot. If I go back to my level 1 ceiling plan, and I wanted to add like what they call a cloud here, I can do that by going to my architecture tab, my ceiling tool. I'm going to go ahead and sketch the ceiling. At this point, I'm going to use this circle tool, and we're just going to go ahead and create that circle right there. And hit my green check mark. So it just created like that circle. So let's go to 3D, see what that looks like. So now it looks like there is a separate ceiling cloud, a little bit lower than that other ceiling section. And then we look at it this way, we have like that cool effect. So that's a lot of people like to use this when we get into the second part of the class, where you kind of do a little bit more commercial and have a little bit more creativity to do what you want, but that's the way that you can create multiple ceilings. So usually for this class, just to do the ceilings in your house as a default, let's go ahead and just use the default ceiling boundary. If you do want to draw your own ceiling for your house now, if you do have an open ceiling concept, then you can go ahead and just leave it like that. You can use that draw tool. A couple other things I want to go over before I do the last part of the class for today. I did notice that there's a couple other people, when you created your roof, you probably did attach walls to roof when you did it. So you're going to have like some wall lines that look like this. Now this might be fine if you have cathedral ceilings in your house, but for the most part, this is not how we want our interior walls to look. So we need to correct that. So in order to correct these walls, we're going to do it similar to how we attach them. But in order to do that, we always have to make sure that all the elements are in place, meaning that I need to be able to see the wall and the roof in this view. So let me turn everything back on. So you notice it's a little weird. We need to think about how we're going to access that internal wall, that wall right there, and that roof at the same time. So I need to hide. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this front wall because I do want this to be a gable. Now at this point, I'm going to click on this interior wall and make it active. And I want to do detach top to base. And then I'm going to click on the roof that I want it to detach from. At that point, that wall is going to stick out through the roof. And all I need to do now is make sure that that wall is active and change that height from unconnected 20 foot to 10 foot. And that'll bring that in line with my other walls that I have in place there. So remember, if you've got walls that look like this, that are kind of cathedral-like on the inside of your house, you have to go back and detach them from the top. So I just highlight that wall, detach top to base, click on that roof line to detach it, and then change the height of that wall. And one last thing before we do anything else, I had another person ask about laying out patterns for your floor flat patterns. If you have if you've just laid out your flooring in your house and you've got one wood pattern that runs this way and one wood pattern that runs this way, and you want them all to run in the same direction, there's what we can do to fix that is from this view, you want to just kind of like hang out over the floor that you want to change. Notice how that blue boundary is going to show up right there. Well, when that blue boundary shows up, I want you to hit the tab button. And then when you hit the tab button, one of the lines in that floor is going to become active. When you click on that to just select the floor pattern. At this time, with that active, we're going to go to our rotate tool and click and rotate 90 degrees. Or if you wanted it to even be 45 degrees or whatever degree you want it to be. But on here, I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees and click, and notice that turns that floor pattern in the exact direction that you want it to be. So it matches that one right there. Now, if we did want these floor plans, they are aligned, but if they were not aligned, we can align these floor plans as well, these floor patterns as well. So we have this line still active. If I wanted these to be aligned with this floor pattern, I would keep this active. I could click on my line tool and then click the two that I want active together. And that way it'll put them both on the same line. It's hard to tell on here because they're already on the same plane, but you can just use the align tool to align the actual pattern of the floor. So once again, if you want to change the pattern, linger over the floor, hit your tab button, select that wall pattern, go ahead, that floor pattern, go ahead and hit your rotate tool, and then you can rotate it. Let's just do this at 45 degrees and see what it looks like. Now I have a 45-degree floor pattern. We'll go to 3D and take a look at that. So we see my diagonal floor pattern. So the last thing today is going to be painting. There's a couple of steps that we need to take as far as painting. Let's do paint first, and I can do that from 3D. In order to paint in 3D, I want to turn off my roof. I want to just hide it. I want to hide the ceiling that I created. So I'm going to highlight part of the ceiling and do hide category. And when we're painting, we're going to go to our modify tab. And this little tool right here, because that's the materials tool with like a wall. This is our paint tool. Right now it's set to remove paint, but if we do the drop down, now we have paint. So it's like putting the material on that other material. You can only paint with the material you have already created in your model. So if you wanted to paint your wall like whatever color you wanted to, remember you have to create that material first. So I'm just going to use some of the materials that I have already. I'll just use this parking stripe because it's nice and vibrant. So if I click on that to use that material and I linger over this wall, notice how it's going to pick the entire wall. I'll do this one. That entire back wall is now that yellow color. And now this entire wall is that yellow color. And I'll just hit escape to close that. Well, maybe I don't want this entire wall to be, one color. Maybe this wall is, yellow and this wall is, blue. So how can I fix that? What I need to do is I can go ahead and just kind of undo, or I can remove paint. Click on remove paint. I'll take that paint off. And what I need to do is split this wall vertically. So I have a wall section here and I have a wall section here. So I'm going to go to my top view. And I'm going to go to my modify tab and then my split tool. So I have split element, and this is just going to use it like kind of an X-Acto knife and split this right where I wanted to. There's one that you would split with a gap. There's the reasons that we would use that, but that's the difference between the two. For the most part, we're just going to be using split element. So when we click on that, you can see that the cursor changes and now it looks like a little X-Acto knife. And notice the placement of where that cut's going to go. What I like to do is I like to make sure that that cut is going to go right through that perpendicular wall, so that color is inside of here. So like what I mean by that is if I split this wall right here, now I'm going to have a wall section here and a wall section here. So if I paint, if I didn't split that where it splits in the middle of this wall, it's going to like bleed out into this next room, which is not what we want. So when we split the wall, we want to make sure that we're doing it where it's not going to bleed through to the other wall. So to do that again, I'm going to top down view, modify tab, modify panel, split element tool, little X-Acto knife, and I'm going to split it right there. It doesn't look like it did anything, but when I turn that off, you notice now I've got a section of wall here and a section of wall here. Now I can come back on this wall, go to my paint tool, go back to that parking stripe, and now when I paint this wall, it's just on this section right here. So I can go back and I would do the same to this side. That way I can just paint this wall. And say if I had a different, if I wanted to put another color on here, I could just go back to my paint tool. Let's just use this oak flooring if I want to have an oak pattern wall. And then I have that right there as well. So what I would like you to do is to incorporate all the stuff that we went over today into your model. I'm not sure what class is going to be for Wednesday yet. We'll just keep an eye on that and check on the updates from Delgado. I assume if everything's okay, if the storm goes the way it's supposed to, we will be having class on Wednesday. But I will send updates, and Delgado will be making updates for class on Wednesday. If we don't have class Wednesday, you'll just go ahead and submit the model progress that you have now. But yeah, we'll work on the updates when we get to Wednesday. So for now, what I'd like you to do is just incorporate the soffit fascia gutters into your house, add your ceilings, and then start painting the house. Remember, you need to create your materials. If you have a multicolored, many different colored houses, I would definitely create a couple materials before you go in to start painting, because those materials have to be active and in your model before you can paint with them. Any questions, y'all? Okay, I'll get these 2 videos loaded up as soon as possible today. If you have any questions while you're working, go ahead and shoot me a text. I don't always check my email, especially with this craziness coming up, I probably won't have a chance to, but if you have something that you need me to look at, please send me a text and let me know, hey, can you check this out for me? And then I can get to it a lot quicker that way, and kind of help you with that. Unless there's no questions, everybody can go ahead and drop. If Ray, I think you needed to talk to me after class, and then if anybody else does, just shoot me an email and we can go from there. So everybody stay safe, be careful, and hopefully I will see you Wednesday. Hey, Ray, I'm going to go ahead and end this one, and then I'm going to send you a separate invite, okay? Okay. Great.